Hi guys, Camosaurus here, and today we're going to be taking a trip back to the distant past of 2019. Because today we're looking at the Dino Rivals 2019 Dual Attack CONCAVENATOR. Now, before we start the review, I'd like to say I'm sorry. We've got a new setup. I've got this light box set up. It's a bit small, so we can't even fit in entire figures, these bigger ones. However, it'll be perfect for future reviews I want to do with smaller figures such as this Battle Damage Sticky Moloch or any of the smaller figures. It's great for that. But for these medium-sized and larger figures, I'm going to use it just to mainly highlight and show off some of the detail. I hope I can address that issue though. But yeah, let's just get straight to it. So first off, I'd like to say that this CONCAVENATOR is mainly based on the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom stuffed CONCAVENATOR that was inside the Lockwood Manor. In a scene with Maisie, you can see it in the background of the museum section. Maybe it's in the bit with the Indoraptor as well, I'm not sure. But in comparison to the likeness of the statue in the film, it's pretty good. The head's quite different, but generally speaking, they've got most of the details there. Mattel have taken some of their own creative liberties. This isn't exactly the color scheme. This isn't exactly the way it looks. It's a bit bulkier. But all in all, they've made a pretty great design. This looks really, really cool. It's a ferocious creature, and honestly just makes for an awesome toy. And for 2019, Mattel started doing the Dual Attack action feature. Now, this is a pretty cool action feature. It incorporates aspects from the Roarivores and from the action attacks of 2018. At the time, this was a pretty ingenious development. Some of them are better than others. For instance, the theropods, I have to say, got the short end of the stick. You have a pretty basic chomp feature. This is much like the Roarivores have. It's pretty fun. This is quite useful for kids if they're wanting to play with this, or for collectors wanting to set up photos. But the other feature is this tail whack. This is quite useless. I'm not gonna lie. That's a useless action feature for a theropod. For a herbivore, it's pretty good. Well, at least for most herbivores. There have been other dual attack herbivores that have that, and it doesn't really work. For example, the Parasaurolophus doesn't need a tail wag. No, but you know what? It's added articulation we would not have got if it wasn't there. So you know what? I'm okay with it. It doesn't detract from the figure. It doesn't add to the figure. It's just there. Talking about some of the sculpt work in this figure, this is actually, I think, one of the best sculpted figures of 2019. There's so much detail packed into this relatively small figure. There's so many different types of detail. You've got big scoots, you've got bumps, you've got wrinkles, you've got scaling. It's really great. As you can see on the head and sides of the figures, there's these massive scoots looking very, very cool and intimidating. They also run down the tail as well. Additionally, on the arms and the feet, there are these more crocodilian-like scaling on them, which looks pretty cool. It doesn't blend in too well with the figure. It goes from the scaling to these kind of bumps. But honestly, it's this extra detail that really does make this figure stand out. And look how detailed the back of this figure is. The button has these really cool layered scoots, I think. And then on the back, on the sail, there's these nice bumps. There's so much detail on the back of this figure. And it just looks stunning. That paired with the color scheme on this figure, which we will just get into. And this is a really well detailed figure. Talking about the color scheme of this figure, it's amazing that this figure actually has a painted tail. Like a fully painted tail. We do not see paint on tails very often, or at least we didn't used to from Mattel. And this is one of the rare exceptions. This is great. The color scheme moving from this mustard yellow and a bit of this kind of purpley red coming in. As it moves up the tail onto the back, there's more. This purple red continues, and then they add in this blood color of red. It really makes quite an intricate, fleshy kind of detail, and it just looks really cool. The head sculpt of this figure is not shy of paint either. There's this lovely kind of glossy orangey red around the eye, which really makes it pop, and that eye is one of the better painted eyes. It doesn't lack paint like many of the other ones, and that little slit is really well painted. Like, that's pretty fine detail, so they've done a great job on that eye. The tongue of this figure is also completely painted, as we come to expect from Mattel's Roar kind of scaled figures, and also the bits on the side are also all coloured in a nice fleshy kind of colour. There's this mustard coloration from the tail that continues at the front of the figure. It's on the jaw and under the neck there. And man, this all just adds up to make a really great paint job. The teeth are pretty well applied, as you can see on mine. There's a bit of bleed onto the upper jaw, but this doesn't bother me that much. It doesn't detract from what is a very well detailed figure. And I feel the need to do this every time we get it. It has painted toenails! But the fingernails are still just plastic. It's a stupid figure. Now, the articulation of this figure is what we've come to expect. A standard up and down swivel with another swivel forward and back. It adds for a pretty good range of motion, honestly. This figure does have like slightly better articulation than some. But yeah, pretty good articulation in the arm, what we expect. And on the back, we've got our standard in and out movement of the leg, and then also your forward and back. So this is a pretty standard figure in terms of articulation. There's no added jaw articulation except for the action feature. No added tail articulation except for the action feature. So honestly, this is a figure that it's pretty standard in the articulation department. Now, an important question when it comes to Mattel figures is, how is the quality of the figure itself? Is it able to stand? Does it have loose joints? I can confirm the Concavenator, at least mine, has pretty stiff joints and can stand fairly well. This is a very solid figure. Now, on to some size comparisons. Here is the Mattel Dino Rivals Concavenator compared to one of the most common species in the line, Velociraptor. As you can see, it's a medium-sized carnivore and scales fairly well with this guy. Next, here's the Concavenator paired with the Roarvore's 2018 Camosaurus, another similarly sized medium carnivore. This guy's a bit longer than him, but he is a bit shorter than the Concavenator. So yeah, these guys also scale well together, look good together, and yeah. And lastly, here's the Concavenator with a bit of prey who won't stand up. Man, this mold, let's just do a mini review inside this review. The Gallimimus Attack Pack mold has got some trouble standing. I think we all know this. Still a good sculpt, but man, oh man, he just does not want to stand. Alright, I finally got the Gallimimus standing. I had to prop him up against the Concavenator. As you can see, everyone's favorite prey item scales pretty well with this guy. So, there we have it, guys. That is the Dino Rivals Dual Attack Concavenator. My final rating for this figure is a solid 8 out of 10. Really good. This figure is a must-have, in my opinion. It is one of the best... I'd say it's definitely... It's up there with the best dinosaurs that aren't from the films directly, you know. This is more of Mattel's liberty with this. It's not too screen accurate because we didn't see much of it. But yeah, this is a great figure. I recommend you go pick it up. Kids will love it. Collectors will love it. You can get some great poses and photography pictures with this. Buy it. That's what I'm gonna say. Mattel, sponsor me. I'm doing the work for you. Buy this 1-year-old figure. And I also have to say, this figure has a way better paint scheme than the other Concavenator. The beige and purple and red one. I prefer this color scheme much more. This is a more naturalistic one and really fits in with the tone of the line. And some of Mattel's repaints are just a bit OTT, but this guy he's just T. He's just on top because he's great. There's a good boy. So, thank you guys for watching this video. If you haven't, please go follow my Patreon if you've got any money you want to give me. And follow my Instagram page at Camosaurus Official if you want to see some of my Marvel Legends and Jurassic World photography. But that's all there is for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. And goodbye. Wow, what a nice statue the Lockwood Manor has of a Concavenator. I'm glad it's not a real one, or else I would be dead. Roar.